The Grand Accord Summit was held on a shining city world called Kylara. Tall towers touched the sky, and ships flew in neat lines above the clouds. The palace where the leaders met was made of white stone and glowing glass. Inside, the rulers of the 12 great houses sat on golden chairs, dressed in fine robes, looking proud and cold. Among them stood Evelyn Rhodes, the ambassador from Earth. She wore a simple gray suit with no gold or jewels. She stood alone, quiet, her hands folded behind her back. The others looked at her and whispered. Some laughed behind their hands. Earth was always the soft planet, known for music and peace, for books and farming. They had no armies, no great ships, no warriors to show. Queen Mariana of House Syndrel leaned forward with a smile that did not reach her eyes. She said Earth was lucky to be allowed in the Accord at all. A man from House Vorten joked that Earth should bring food and wash ships instead of trying to lead. But no one defended her. No one saw her eyes narrow. Evelyn said nothing. She gave a small bow and left the chamber. The hall outside was silent. She walked slowly, each step steady. Her guards did not speak. When she reached her room, she locked the door and walked to the center of the floor. She took a small black cube from her coat and placed it on the table. Lights blinked once, then turned green. She spoke just one sentence. Initiate Protocol Helix. Let war be born. The cube made a soft sound and sent the message through a hidden line, away from the eyes of the Accord, back to Earth. That night, the skies above Kylara were full of music and light as the houses celebrated their power. They drank and danced while ships sparkled above them like stars. No one saw the change in Evelyn's eyes as she watched from her window. No one knew what Earth had built in the shadows of silence. No one believed that the planet they laughed at would soon become the storm. Earth had listened for too long. Now, it would teach the galaxy something new. Weeks passed after the Grand Accord Summit. The rulers of the 12 great houses went back to their palaces. They forgot about Earth. They laughed in their meetings and said Earth was too weak to matter. On Earth, there was no answer to calls. No messages came from its side of space. No ships left its ports. Earth had gone silent. At first, no one cared. Then, a small farming colony under House Vorten stopped sending reports. A scout ship was sent to check. It did not return. Another team followed, and they found the colony gone. Not broken, not damaged. Gone. The ground was black. The buildings were ash. All life had vanished. Not even metal was left behind. Out. The houses thought it was a natural event. Maybe a sunstorm or a mining accident. They told each other, Earth could never do such a thing. Earth did not fight. Then a trade station in House Darrell's space was destroyed. Hundreds of workers were lost. The station's last message was full of fear. A voice shouted about dark ships that moved like shadows. No warning, no words, just fire. A word was found burned into a steel wall. We watched, we remember, and now you will learn. After that, fear spread fast. Ships went missing near Earth's old borders. Patrols vanished without sound. And fleets sent to search came back with stories of strange weapons. Ships with no lights, no signals. They said the enemy did not speak. They did not answer. They only attacked with speed and skill. The rulers began to argue. Some said it was not Earth. Some said it was a hidden house or a lost empire. Some said ghosts of old wars had returned, but the attacks kept growing. One by one, small outposts were burned. The black ships came in the night and left nothing behind. Queen Mariana called a secret council. She ordered stronger patrols and prepared her main fleet. She said Earth must be punished if they were behind it. But still, no word came from Earth. Only silence. And from that silence, war had started to rise. The galaxy had forgotten Earth, but Earth had not forgotten the galaxy. Beneath the surface of Earth, deep below the mountains of the old continent, a secret base had come to life.
Oh.
Long metal halls stretched like veins. Bright lights hummed over silent soldiers. It was not a place of peace. It was built for one thing only: war. At the center of it stood Commander Logan Price. He was tall, with a sharp face and cold eyes. He did not smile. He stood in front of a large screen, watching reports from across the stars. Each red mark was a target. Each black mark was a place already taken. He had trained for this his whole life, not with swords or guns, but with history. He knew every battle Earth had lost. He knew every trick used by the houses. He studied every war, every failure, every mistake. He was not raised as a soldier. He was built as a weapon. Across from him stood Evelyn Rhodes. She wore a dark coat, and her face showed no emotion. She had led Earth's plan for many years. She had waited for the right time. Now it had come. Evelyn looked at Logan and asked if the first wave was ready. He nodded. He said the quiet fleet had already reached the edge of the next house. No messages, no light, only action. These were not normal soldiers. They were called the Warborn, chosen as children, trained in secret. They did not fight with honor. They fought to win, fast, silent, ruthless. Logan opened a map on the wall. He pointed to 3 targets. He said they would fall within days. Not with large battles, but with fear and speed. He said the houses were too proud. They still believed Earth was weak. Evelyn turned to leave, but stopped at the door. She looked back and said one thing. She said, once war starts, it changes everyone. She asked Logan if he was ready to pay that price. Logan said he had already paid it. As she walked away, the first attack began. In space, black ships moved like shadows. Silent, cold, precise. The old Earth was gone. In its place, something new had risen. Something born not from anger, but from memory. Queen Mariana sat in her war room, her hands tight on the edge of the table. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of fire. Reports from her fleet kept coming. One after another, they spoke of attacks. Her outposts were falling. Her ships were being hunted. No warning, no calls for peace, just fire and silence. She stood and raised her voice. She told her commanders that Earth had gone too far. She said Earth was no longer part of the Grand Accord. She said they had betrayed their place and would be crushed. Her words were strong. Her fleet was stronger. She ordered a full crusade. She would send her warships into Earth's path and end the attacks. Across her kingdom, her people cheered. They had always seen Earth as soft. Now they would show the galaxy that no one could strike a queen and live. 50 ships left her capital. They were fast and armed with old power. They flew toward the Kuros Belt, where Earth's black ships were last seen. They never returned. The ships entered the dark belt. They saw nothing. Then the sky lit up. Blasts came from the shadows. Missiles flew from behind rocks. Hidden cannons opened fire. The Queen's fleet was cut apart in minutes. Her ships tried to fight, but they could not see the enemy. No one answered their calls. There was no mercy. Only one ship limped back, broken and burning. Its captain sent a final message before the ship failed. He said Earth had built a new kind of war. He said the enemy did not fight like the houses. They fought like ghosts. Cold, fast, always one step ahead. Mariana was furious. She called her guards and took control herself. She ordered the capture of all Earth's diplomats who had stayed behind. She made them kneel in her court. She looked them in the eye and gave her order. They were to be executed at dawn. The message was sent across all stars. She thought it would bring fear. Instead, it brought fire. That same night, Earth attacked Tyvan, one of the oldest city worlds. The battle lasted 19 minutes. When it ended, the city raised a white flag. The Queen had struck, but Earth had answered. The Warborn were now feared across the stars. They moved without sound, without warning, and without mercy. Every time they appeared, a world fell. They were not many, but they were trained like no other force in history. They struck fast, used traps, and never left a trace. The galaxy had never seen warriors like them. People in the far systems began to whisper their names. They called them shadows, ghosts, fire from Earth. No house had found a way to stop them. No fleet had won against them. Earth's power was no longer a secret. It was now written in fire across the skies. At the center of this storm stood one name, Reed. Reed was silent. He never spoke during missions. He led a small team that had never lost. He was trained in the darkest halls under Earth's soil. His eyes were cold, and his mind was sharp. He did not believe in glory. He believed in victory. Every mission he took was fast and final. When House Delcor raised its banners and swore to destroy Earth, Reed was sent to their sky palace. floated above a rich world full of gold and light. The rulers of the house were having a feast when Reed and his team entered. They came through the storm vents, through the power lines, through the places no one guarded. By the time the guards noticed, it was too late. The Sky Palace shook as bombs went off inside its walls. Reed reached the throne room in silence. He looked at the leader of the house and pointed once. The message was clear. Earth was done talking. Minutes later, the Sky Palace fell from the clouds and crashed into the sea. The galaxy watched in shock. But not all were proud. On Earth, there were voices that did not agree with this path. A woman named Alina Morse, a scholar and speaker, called for peace. She feared Earth was losing its soul. She said the Warborn had become machines of death. She asked Evelyn to stop the attacks before Earth became the thing it once feared. Evelyn looked at her and said, "We ask for peace. They gave us chains. Now we speak the only language they understand." The rulers of the remaining houses were afraid. Earth had crushed 3 noble families. Their fleets were gone, their cities burned, their names broken. No one had expected Earth to rise like this. The rulers called a secret meeting on a hidden world. Queen Mariana stood at the head of the table. Her face was hard and her voice was sharp. She said Earth must fall. If not now, then never. She said if they waited longer, no house would survive. The others agreed. Enemies became allies. Old rivals joined hands. They called themselves the Celestial Pact. Together, they would strike Earth with all their power. They planned to destroy Earth's secret shipyards near the sun. These shipyards were known only by spies. Mariana sent her strongest fleet to Mercury. 100 ships. Heavy weapons. Elite guards. When they arrived, they found nothing. No shipyards. No ships. No signs of life. Before they could turn back, their screens went dark. Earth's real fleet came from behind. Hidden by the sun, their black ships moved fast and hit hard. The Pact's fleet tried to fight, but their weapons were slow. Their leaders gave orders, but the Earth fleet did not follow rules. They circled like wolves and struck without mercy. In less than an hour, the Pact ships were gone. While the houses looked toward Mercury, Earth had already moved. The real target was not a shipyard. It was Kylara, the throne world, the center of power. Logan Price led the strike, stood aboard the lead ship, and gave the order. Earth's forces came from the dark side of the planet. Black suns were dropped from orbit. These were the second wave of Warborn. Stronger, faster. They did not come to talk. They came to end the war. The battle in the skies was brutal. Ships crashed, fire filled the clouds, and the sound of war reached the streets below. In the palace, Queen Mariana stood with her last guards. She waited with sword in hand. Reed entered the throne room. His armor was burned, but he walked without fear. He looked at the queen. She raised her sword. He broke it. Then he stepped on her crown. Earth had won. The war was over. The great houses were silent. Their fleets were gone. Their leaders were missing or taken. The throne world had fallen. The golden banners that once flew over the stars now lay in ashes. Earth stood alone at the top. There was no celebration. Evelyn Rhodes stood in the center of the Grand Accord Hall, the same place where they once laughed at her, the same hall where Earth was called weak. Now it was full of silence. The rulers who remained sat with heads low. Some were afraid, some were angry, but none dared to speak. Evelyn looked around the room. She wore no crown. She gave no smile. Her voice was calm and clear. She said Earth never wanted war. Earth asked for respect and peace. She reminded them how they had treated her people, how they had used Earth as workers and servants, how they had laughed when Earth spoke of unity. She said Earth had learned a lesson, a hard one. Then she said something they would never forget. We created war to survive your pride. We used it to be seen, but we do not love it, and we do not wish to speak it again. There was no answer. No one moved. In a dark room deep under Earth, Logan Price stood alone. His hands moved across a panel. He entered a final code. The Helix protocol was turned off. The Warborn were called back. The ships returned. The weapons were locked away. But the damage was already done. The stars were changed. The people of the galaxy now looked at Earth with fear and respect. The black ships stayed near the edges of space, watching, waiting. not to attack, but to protect. Earth would never be weak again. It would never be mocked again. In schools across the stars, children now learned about Earth not as a place of music and peace, but as the world that rose from the dust and defeated empires. Reed stood at a window on a quiet station. He watched the stars. His face showed no pride, no joy. He had done what he was made to do. And in that silence, the galaxy remembered. Earth had taught them war,